I don't think anyone's expecting perfection. They're just expecting truth and transparency.
Hi, everyone. It's Kara Goldin from The Kara Goldin Show, and I'm super, super excited to have my next incredibly inspiring founder, entrepreneur, total badass on the podcast today. So we have Wende Zomnir, who is the founder of a brand called Caliray. And you may know her name. You'll definitely know her brand. She was way back, not too far back, but
pretty far back
in the beauty industry. She co-founded a brand called Decay. And if you haven't heard of Decay, you should just not listen to the rest of this. No, I'm just kidding. No, definitely an incredible brand that she co-founded. And now she is founding another brand, a terrific new brand in the clean makeup industry. And it's just a great product, or filled with great products, I should say. Great company filled with great products as well that are super clean, super high quality. And like many entrepreneurs that I've had on the podcast, Wende's journey is an unconventional one. She had worked in advertising and in the fitness industry, and then co-founded that great brand I just mentioned, Decay. And then this year, she co-founded her company, Caliray, and she wants to bring simple outdoor makeup look of Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, where she is, as well, to everyone in the country. And I'm so excited to hear her story. So thank you, Wende, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Kara.
Very excited. So tell me a little bit about you as, I always start with the beginning because I always feel like, when you were just getting started, did you know you were going to be founding 2 beauty brands and doing what you're doing today?
I had no idea. I did know when I was little that I wanted to make something. Like that was like a sort of thing I liked to do as a kid. I loved like making usually horrible looking like jewelry out of plastic straws, things out of yarn, popsicle. And I was like, I would also ask my mom, like, okay, do you think I could sell this? And she's just like, no, it's not to put me down, but just, she's a realist. And, but I think I always had that in me to make something. And then I always watched my dad. He worked for a defense contractor. He's a relatively successcul guy. But I always remembered that he loved racquetball and he wanted to open a racquetball club. And I just watched him sort of like talk about it and go down the path that way and never really do it. And I think I always thought he'd just be so much happier if he'd just do that. But I think, he's a guy with 3 kids. And I think it's hard to take those risks, right? You have all this responsibility. And so, I admire him a lot for making that selfless choice to really think about the stability for his family. But I did know like that would have made him happier. And so I felt like I always had that in me a little bit. And when I went to work for big ad agencies, I would remember like riding up the elevator thinking, wow, I'm going to go sit in my gray cubicle now, So I knew that was it. That was great training, like amazing training. It taught me how to be in business. It taught me so many things about presentations and pitching. And I just knew that it wasn't going to be a long-term end game for me.
What was the point when you decided that you were going to start your own company?
Well, I met Sandy Lerner. I'm going to back up 2 more steps though, because my mom gave me a makeup kit. It was like the first iteration of Calvin Klein makeup. And it was this giant box of makeup. And I remember thinking, this is the best Christmas present I ever got. And I would pull pages out of magazines when we used to have magazines, and I'd tape them to my mirror. And I would recreate all of the looks that you see in like different magazines. And I remember, like, I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and I got sent home from school in 8th grade for wearing too much makeup. And do you know how much makeup you got to have on to get sent home from school in Texas? Like, a lot. So I really always loved that self-expression and like, you know, creating a new you with your face, with your own face, like this whole like mirror to the world thing you could do. And so for me, it wasn't about covering up blemishes. It was really about this self-expression. So I think that whole entrepreneur thing with my dad, and then the makeup gift from my mom, you know, and I always loved watching her put her makeup on. So I think those two things sort of combined. And I didn't know I was going to be a beauty entrepreneur. To really answer the question you just asked, I ended up meeting a brilliant woman named Sandy Lerner, and Urban Decay was her idea. I mean, she started Cisco Systems. You want to talk about the ultimate female entrepreneur? I mean, this was my mentor, right? I would have never in a million years imagined that I could be part of something that broke the beauty industry, right? Like, we went and broke down, like, back, you got to think back to the mid 90s. And basically you shop for prestige makeup at department stores. And that makeup was nice and beautifully packaged and all of that, but it was pretty dull in terms of color. It wasn't a lot of color. And then there was the drugstore, which had a lot of color, but at that time in the mid 90s, it wasn't very good quality. So we wanted to like marry this great quality makeup with fun color. And that was really the impetus for it. And I give Sandy so much credit for, you know, having been there already in the tech industry as a woman, going, well, I broke tech. Why can't I break beauty? And bringing me along for the ride taught me so much.
How did you meet her?
So it was my best friend. I was living in Chicago. It was my best friend who I had met through her best friend in a yoga class, in a aerobics class that I was teaching. It was her ex-fiance's business manager, right? It goes to show you, like, you never know. Like, connections you make, you never know. So
that is so wild. So what year was this at, like, when Urban Decay really started?
This was 1995.
Wow.
So I met Sandy in 1995, and we sold our first product in 1996, which the turnaround could never happen today. But
yeah.
We made it happen fast.
That is so wild. So, and what do you think was the hardest thing? I mean, obviously there wasn't Sephora, right? I mean, how did you get your product out there?
This is a story in being resourceful. Like, if you ask me, like, what's the number one attribute you need to cultivate as an entrepreneur, it would be resourcefulness. So we had this idea for a product and a brand. I'm living in Laguna Beach with my boyfriend in this little beach shack. And his friend was a swimsuit rep, and he had been out surfing and he had meetings to go to. So he calls me and he says, Wendy, can I come by and use your shower before my meetings? And I was like, sure. You know, I'm working at home, working on this kooky Urban Decay thing. And he's in my shower, and I realized, oh my God, he's got every Nordstrom buyer on a list in his bag right there. And I just took a peek, and I might have just written down a few numbers off that list and put it right back where I found it. And then when he left, I started calling people, and I got the swimsuit buyers to give me the name of the cosmetics buyers. So then I had a direct line, and I just started calling people. And one of the buyers in the San Diego region picked up her phone. Her name was Kimberly Heathman. And she said, well, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, but I'll be here until tomorrow, so you can come by. And so I was like, okay, I cleaned up all my samples. I drove down to San Diego, and I gave her a pitch. And I thought it was going to be like the ad industry, where you got to like go pitch the client and then go back again with changes and pitch. She pulls out an order form and starts writing. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to fulfill this? Right. So that was really the start of it.
That is wild. And so you were eventually acquired in 2012 by L'Oreal.
Yes.
So that is for all entrepreneurs out there who think they're going to start a company in a few years. It's just, going to get acquired. I always say it always takes much longer. I'm even surprised to hear that Urban Decay came out in 96 because I would have guessed it in the 2000s. I think when I first heard about it, maybe I saw it.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have heard about it till the 2000s. And it's kind of a little bit of what, we had quickly touched on, which was, we did have to break down all these barriers. There wasn't Sephora, so I had to go to department stores. I didn't have the infrastructure that the big brands had, and there was no roadmap to success. So we made a ton of mistakes. There wasn't anyone else doing this. And so what I love to give myself credit for is breaking down all the barriers and paving the road for all of these beauty entrepreneurs to be able to follow that same path and have success a lot more quickly. And be able to participate in the beauty industry. And I really feel like Urban Decay helped democratize beauty. And before it was very aspirational. It was very much like, okay, these, corporate people are going to hire a model and she's going to be white and blonde, even featured and thin. And you are going to aspire to look like her. And we're going to sell you products that make you wish you looked like her. And maybe if you use them, you might just look a little bit more like her. So it was this aspirational model. And we really took that and turned it on its head. And between Sephora, the rise of social media, and us saying, your face is a canvas. It's not about looking like her. It's about expressing yourself. We really did do this whole thing about democratizing beauty. And along the way, like I said, open the door for every other beauty entrepreneur to have their piece of the pie, which I'm thrilled about, that the beauty landscape looks so different than it did in the mid-90s when most of us did not see ourselves in magazines or, our body shapes, our types. Most of us are not supermodels. But we are all beautiful. So I just really felt like we helped change the world that way.
I love it. It's such a great setup for, I think, how it's just evolved, right? Over the last 20 years. How did you get the word out about your product when you first started? I mean, you were trying to get distribution, but nobody called them influencers, right?
Right. Well, no one called them influencers, but I did what I call the earliest form of social media. I, through, a friend of a friend, met these young women in New York who were kind of the it girls, the party girls. And I would send them boxes of product and some cash. And they would basically go out and hand the product out to their cool influence tastemaker friends. So between that and then I would go to the hardware store and I was like, I know these people are getting press release after press release. I can only imagine what editors were getting on their desks every day that all look the same. And I certainly can't compete with these sort of elevated, beautiful things. So what can I go make that's going to be crazy and kooky? And I remember going to the hardware store and making press kits out of aluminum flashing and caution tape and sending them to New York and just looking on the masthead and calling people and going, will you meet with me? And being able to weasel my way into Condé Nast and, pitch, sell, and get people to cover us. And that's really how we got it started, was through, just boots on the ground press. And, because I didn't know that PR firms existed. So boots on the ground press and these trying to find my own kind of influencers.
Did you ever hear, no, we're not really interested? You're not a big enough brand? Did you feel like you had walls put up in front of you? And how did you get over those times?
Well, I felt like, from a press standpoint, they were fortunately kind of craving something new. Mm-hmm. We were never going to get a big feature one of the big brands we're going to get, but we might get something on a beauty roundup page or something that featured the latest, greatest new shades. We might, black is the new nail polish shade. So let's show you a page of black nail polish. We might make it to that. So I was just hustling for whatever little bit of press we could get. And so I felt like I didn't really get told no that much. I I mean, I got us into Vogue. So,
it's amazing.
And who would have thought a brand called Urban Decay would have made it into Vogue?
I love it. That's so great. So, this last year, you started a brand called Caliray. And so tell us a little bit about that. What inspired you to decide that the world needed a new brand, a different brand, to share a little bit about that?
Number one, I'm a little older and wiser, just looking at the world a little differently. And a couple of things happened. One, I think we opened like 60 countries with Urban Decay. And I was traveling all over the world doing press trips and opening these markets for Urban, which was really exciting. And the thing I would get asked about a lot was California. And, do you surf? Do you drink kale smoothies? Do you do yoga every day? Like, I would get all these questions about, like, is everyone an entrepreneur? And I don't think it was about like everyone wanted to move there, but I think there's this sort of like archetypal like idea of like freedom and carefree that really resonates with people no matter where they live. And I think they wanted to understand that a little more. And so I was like, this is really interesting that this really resonates with people. The other thing that happened was I went on this amazing surf trip with my family. We were surfing by ourselves on this beautiful little wave off this gorgeous island. And, I'd been surfing for like 3 hours, a little tired. I paddle in and I decide I'm going to sit on this island until we're ready to leave. And I get to the island and it's covered on the interior of the island in plastic trash. And so I just said to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. And I felt like I had been a giant offender in the beauty space of creating plastic trash. And I thought, well, what could I do? So between the sort of like California stuff in my head and this idea that as I was getting older and I started to have children, like I wanted everything for them to be clean. I built a house that was non-off-gassing and clean. I made the Urban Decay offices when I built them. I made sure the workstations were made out of this particle board that was non-off-gassing formaldehyde, no off-gassing formaldehyde rugs. Like everything was super clean. And Urban was one of the first brands to take parabens out of their products. We didn't get credit for it at the time, but clean was starting to be a bigger and bigger idea. So I wanted to create something that embraced this the kooky Cali weirdness and fun, clean, and sustainable. So it doesn't sound like, oh, every brand's clean now. It's easier to be clean now than it was, but it's not easy. And being sustainable in a big way is really difficult. But we made a mascara and the tube is 100% upcycled ocean plastic. And we decorated it so that it can be recycled again. And we have a recycling partner because, unlike your packaging, our packaging is too small to go into the curbside recycling stream, which is why beauty packaging is so detrimental. All of that little tiny plastic is a problem. Bigger plastic is not such a big, it's a problem, but there's a solvable solution in place that people are working towards. So we had to find a recycling partner that could take all of our little beauty packages and put them back into the recycling stream. So there's a lot of things to be done in this space. And we just felt like clean beauty is awesome. And there's a lot of people doing it, which I think is great to have a lot of choices for the customer. And we just felt like there was something missing though. A lot of times clean beauty tends to be a little quiet. And as you know, with Urban, our brand is kind of kooky and loud. And I just still wanted that for Caliray. I wanted it to be like fun. And I wanted you to just kind of, go into this like fun portal that transported you to the West Coast, no matter how you wanted to experience it.
I love it. What is the number one Caliray product?
Well, Kara, we only have 2 products right now, so more to come. But we just launched with a mascara and 3 shades of eye pencil. So
I love it.
The other thing that's a little different about ours is that we made these super high performance. A lot of times, like a clean mascara is something that doesn't really last all day or give great volume. And ours is a clean tubing mascara, which means you can fall in the pool, you can cry, you can get rained on, you can just have oily eyelids and you will have 0 smudges at the end of the day. So I like to say it's a 0 smudge formula.
It's great. And your pencils are awesome. You sent me some that were so good, and they're soft. They don't rip your eyelid apart when you're putting them on either. So they're really, really terrific. So, well, this is so exciting that you decided to, why did you start with eyes? I'm so curious.
Well, I feel like that's an area where have the most expertise is eyes. That's what Urban's really known for, is its shadows and its palettes and its 24/7 pencils. And so I wanted to start with that. And I also felt like these were products that almost every woman uses, right? So I wanted to tap into, everyone pretty much uses mascara. And I wanted to make the number one complaint I would always hear is like, oh, I hate it when my mascara smudges on my lower lids at the end of the day. So I really wanted it to be something that people could wear and feel like, okay, I have this clean formula. It's in this great sustainable package, and I'm not going to have smudges. I'm going to have a great result. And the same thing with the pencil. I feel like most people do something with an eyeliner in either a small way or a big way every single day, even if it's just a little smudgy line on the top of your lid. And so I felt like pencils would be another, kind of 1-2 punch for people.
Beyond the packaging, I totally agree, and the cleanliness of what's inside as well for clean beauty. What do you think are the biggest changes as the Gen Z generation is coming up? Obviously, they're the ones that are they're huge makeup consumers as well as millennials, but what do you see as like the biggest trend right now?
I think for Gen Z, the biggest trend is transparency and being, having a point of view and a cause. Like, I think that the days are over of being able to not be completely transparent with your customer. I think they're demanding it. They want to know, and they have the internet and they're good at it, and they can dig up a lot of stuff, right? They can go in and they're willing to be little sleuths and uncover truths. So you might as well just be straight up with them. And I have 2 Gen Zers myself, so I kind of understand them, right? At least I feel like I do. It doesn't mean I want to watch TikTok all day like they do, but I do understand like what they're driving towards and what is important to them. So, we really just try to be really transparent. Like on the mascara, we'll tell you the tube and the stem of the mascara are the 100% ocean plastic. We did make the brush out of nylon fibers. I tried a castor seed oil brush. I couldn't get it to work. I'm still working on it, and I'm going to try to make the brush more sustainable, but I haven't done it yet. And that's all I mean is like, I don't think anyone's expecting perfection. They're just expecting truth and transparency.
Well, and I think also being able, here's another thing that I think is also the case is that if you're able, you need to do your homework as a CEO and as a founder and be able to speak to it. So you don't have to have all the answers to it, but I think gone are the days where you can say, oh, that's someone else's department, right? You really have to be able to speak to kind of where the company is going, and it might not be perfect, but here's what you've learned. And so I think that's absolutely right. I have a few Gen Zers in my house as well. And I think that it's very much the case that you have to be able to speak to it. And I really do believe that, look, I think beauty has changed so much. And even through wearing masks, somebody reminded me that lipstick was always, who was it? That Chanel had always said, like, nothing changes during any crisis in the world. Everyone will always, wear lipstick. Well, when everyone's wearing masks,
I actually think it's Leonard Lauder,
or it was Leonard. Okay,
yeah.
So that's. Wasn't really the case as much during this time, although I know I bought plenty of lipsticks along the way, but it's definitely there's lots of changes in the beauty industry for sure. And I think that the more natural, the more, looking at your own characteristics and your own face versus trying to match someone else's, your own individual you, right, is really important. So, but I think ingredients and things like that are much more important than they were. I also just think that the story, right? I think that storytelling is such a big piece of brands today. What are your thoughts on that?
So I have always been a big believer in storytelling. And I do think, the seeds of Urban Decay really did start this trend of, self-expression and being yourself, right? And not trying to conform your face to someone else. And I think the storytelling has always been part of what we did as that brand. And I think it's becoming more and more important as part of brands. Like, people want to know the backstory. Like, people are fascinated with your story. Like, you gave up diet soda and created this amazing brand because of your own personal experience. And I think, I had a personal experience when I was 16 that indirectly led me to this point of view on makeup, which was, I was coming out of church and the, pastor is like, oh, you've got so much makeup on. I just hate it when you hide behind that mask of makeup. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not hiding at all. I'm showing you who I am. I'm like being really clear with you. And I remember having that thought. And I think that's what we need to be doing with brands, is like telling the backstory and also telling the story of each product through every single little thing you do with the product. I think there's ways to tell the story and bringing people into your brand, whether it's influencers, employees, whatever, and like having them be part of the story too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes so much sense. So you founded 2 brands. What do you think are the biggest lessons that you learned from your journey, and that you're doing things differently this go around?
Yeah, so I would say the first big lesson, and I've been telling people this for years because I realized it really early on, I just thought, oh my gosh, if I just create this amazing creative product and I've got some people to sell it, it's just like, I didn't understand how important finance and operations were, right? Like, I just thought, oh, I'm a creative person, it's a creative business, we have this great product, we have this great brand, people love it. And the fact is, it's a business. And so I think a lot of times people in creative fields sometimes forget that you really need to remember that, like, cash flow is super important. So you've got to be able to, like, it looks like you're successful on paper and yet there's nothing in your bank account. Like, how is that possible, right? I needed to understand that. And I know that seems like a baby step lesson, but if someone's listening who is really just getting off the ground, I highly encourage you to have a backstop or a partner in your business that's willing to really take on that role of watching how things operate, planning, forecasting, making responsible business decisions, in addition to all of those awesome creative branding decisions you have to make. So that's number one. And I think number 2, as I go into, round 2 of my, beauty career, and I did that. I brought in people who are more senior than I would have the first time around, right? I'm less intimidated. So I would tell people, always hire the most senior person you can afford, or maybe can't even afford, because they are worth their weight in gold if they're a good fit, versus bringing on, someone at the beginning. You think like, oh, I'm on a budget, it'd be better if I just had a bunch of little junior people, like bodies, to get stuff done. But you're actually better off, I think, hiring at a more senior level and really having that experience to make good decisions from the beginning that are going to set you up for success.
So true. So, are you raising money on this go around?
No. We have some friends and family that wanted to be a part of it, but it's a passion project, and we definitely are building a brand, but just trying to do it grassroots.
I love it. That's so great. So how about supply chain? How do you feel about that's like the hot topic of
the hot topic.
The world.
It's the hot topic. Well, I can walk out my front door and count the ships that are sitting, waiting to get in San Pedro and the LA ports. So I do visually understand how big the supply chain issue is. Fortunately, we started planning this a long time ago, and we did anticipate that we might have problems. And so we placed POs very early, way earlier than we thought we needed to, which was hard, right? Because sometimes you got to, it costs you money to place that PO right off the bat. And we just decided to bite the bullet and do it early. I will tell you, the deliveries are still way later than I thought they'd be, even placing them early. So it's just about planning ahead.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. So many important lessons here. And where do people find you and also Caliray? Where's the best place for people to pick up some of the great eye products that you have now? And you said more coming later?
Yeah, more products are coming. I'm really excited about what is to come in the next couple of months. Right now, you can buy all of our products on CalirayBeauty.com, but you can also, this is hot off the press, you are the first person to hear it from me, but Sephora.com. So you'll be able to pick it up at Sephora.com.
That's so great. I'm very, very excited to hear that. And I love walking into Sephora. They're so terrific. So, well, thank you, Wende. And you have a great Instagram account
thanks.
As well. So everybody definitely follow Wende. And you have a personal one as well as Caliray's.
I do. So we have one that's just Caliray, and then mine is Wende Zomnir.
Yeah, they're both really, really great. So, well, thank you again. And thanks
everybody for having me.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And definitely, if you haven't already subscribed to the Kara Goldin Show, we're here every Monday and Wednesday with amazing stories from founders and CEOs and amazing brands. Definitely subscribe on Apple or Spotify or your favorite podcast. And if you haven't picked up a copy of my book that came out, I can't even believe it, a year ago, Undaunted, Overcoming Doubts and Doubters, it's really is about the journey of building Hint and so much more, and kind of being able to figure out how to move forward, get through challenging times, and definitely pick up a case of Hint or a bottle of Hint at your local store if you haven't tried it, or if you're just thirsty as well. And please follow me on all social channels at Kara Goldin. And thank you everyone for listening. Have a great rest of the week.